Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Good Effort Meg. Today we are going to be working on a special project for my mother-in-law. So she recently retired and she was an educator, and a while ago, probably a couple of months ago, she asked if I could crochet a lion for her. I believe because it was the mascot of the school she was teaching at. And unfortunately, I did not get around to getting that done before she retired because she wasn't originally planning on retiring, but kind of the stars aligned and it ended up being like the perfect time for her. So this particular pattern I found for free on Ravelry's website, and I'll be sure to link it down below. But there's a little bit of a caveat. The pattern that's available on Ravelry that I'm going to link below is actually written in Dutch or German. I'm not entirely sure which. But I went ahead and spent a couple of really weeks translating it into English and making sure that it made sense and it would come out to what the picture from the pattern had. So I'm going to link a copy of the translated pattern that I personally wrote in the description as well. Just understand that it is not my pattern, it is just a translated pattern, which will also be linked. I think that the English translation, I think I did a pretty okay job on it, but if there's any edits or anything, then feel free to shoot me a message and I'll correct it. But I just want to make sure that y'all understand this is not an original pattern by me. I'm not trying to steal credit or anything, but yeah. But I thought it was a super cute pattern and I wanted to use it. So without further ado, let's get started. So for our list of materials, we are going to need 3 different color yarns. So I just got these 24/7 cotton yarns, and I've got the color goldenrod, the color coffee bean, and white. I'm going to be using a size 3mm crochet hook, or in English terms, that is a D hook. Got some stitch markers, a tapestry needle, and a pair of scissors. You're gonna need some safety eyes, you're gonna need some stuffing, and I have some black embroidery thread that we'll use towards the end for details. So to get started on this piece, I am first going to begin on the head. Different to other amigurumis that we've worked on my channel, we are going to be crocheting all the way from the head through the body without stopping. So to start on the head, we're going to start with a magic ring. So we're going to make an X on the inside of our hand and 2 parallel lines on the back. We're going to take our crochet hook and go under and over and twist and then remove. And then we are going to lock that in just by yarning over and pulling through. Next, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the magic ring. And we're just going to insert our hook here into the loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, both, just like that. And we're going to do that 5 more times. So what I like to do, because we're going to be working in the round, is pick up a stitch marker and plop it into that final single crochet that we just did. Now to complete our magic ring, we're now going to pull on this tail here, just like so. So that is round 1. Now to begin on round 2, we are going to be working an increase in each of these stitches. And an increase in this sense is just 2 single crochets into a single stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into that very first single crochet that we did. We're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and we're just going to do that again in that very same stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And that's an increase. So we're going to do that in each of these stitches. So that's the end of round 2. Now you might have noticed that your center ring loosened up a bit. Don't worry too much about that. Again, we can just pull on that tail and that'll close right up. So for round 3, you will see there's a set of square brackets. And after that, there's a multiplier. And all that means is that you're going to work those successive stitches the number of the multiplier. So for instance, for round 3, in this very first stitch, we're gonna work an increase just like we've done in this last round. And then in the next stitch, we're gonna work a single crochet, just like that. So that is a single iteration of the contents of the square bracket. So we're gonna do those very same stitches 5 more times all the way around. So that is the end of round 3. So for round 4, the only differences you might see in this pattern right up is that now there are stitches outside of the square brackets and there's numbers following some of the stitches. So for round 4, we'll do this one together. Anything that's outside of a square bracket is just gonna happen as a single iteration. So we're gonna start with a single crochet in this very first stitch. And then we have a square bracket with some stitches indicated with a ×5 multiplier. So all that means is we're gonna work our increase in this next stitch. And you see now that the single crochet has a number following it, a number 2. And all that means is that we're gonna work a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, just like that. So we're gonna work those square bracket indicators 4 more times, and I'll come back to finish up the round with you. So I just finished the square bracket stitches, and now we are going to work an increase in this next stitch, because again, remember that anything not in square brackets is just happening as a single iteration. And in this last stitch, we are just gonna plop down a single crochet and replace our stitch marker into that last stitch. So that is the end of round 4. So you now have all the tools that you need in your toolbox to get pretty much all the way through round, let's say 19, but I'm gonna join you back up probably at the end of round 17. So keep working and following the pattern as written, and I will see you then. So I just finished round 17. And now before we continue on, we are going to install our safety eyes. So I am going to flip my piece 180 degrees, and then we are going to be putting our safety eyes between rows 15 and 16. So this is 17, 16, and 15. So we're just gonna plop it in this row here. So we're just gonna put one eye in. And we want about 6 stitches in between. So we're just gonna count to the left 6. And then in the next stitch, that's where we'll put the second eye. So this is where the pattern tells you to put it, but I'm actually gonna shift this over 1 more stitch, maybe 2. I'll probably hold off putting the backs in just to see how it looks once we get farther along in the piece, but this is how the safety eyes look with them 7 stitches apart, and just at first glance it seems like they're really close together. So I'm just not going to put the backs in for now, and I'm just going to keep working until we get to the body, and once I stuff the head I'll decide whether or not I want to move this further over or if that looks okay. But now we're going to continue on with the pattern, and I will be back in just a few moments. So I just finished round 19, and this is what it should look like at this point. And now we're gonna start our decreasing rounds. So just as before, we're going to read the pattern as you've learned. So anything outside of the square brackets are single iterations. So we are gonna start with these 4 single crochets, just like so. And now we're gonna do a decrease. Now, a proper decrease, you would insert your hook just as you've been doing normally for the entirety of this project. But for amigurumis, I found that splitting the stitch will hide the hole a little bit better, so your stuffing won't be as visible. So we're gonna split the first stitch, and then we're gonna split the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. And now we have 3 loops on our hook. So to finish off the decrease, we're gonna yarn over and pull through all 3 of those stitches. And that is how I do my decreases. So I'll show it to you one more time. I'm just gonna work the next single crochets. We're going to split the first stitch, yarn over and pull through, split the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then with these 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all of them. So you should have all the tools you need in your toolkit to get through the remaining rounds of the head. So I will come back at the end of round 26. So now we are done with the head of the lion. So unlike on the previous amigurumis where we would snip off a tail and finish off here, we're actually going to keep working in rounds on the body, similar to what we did in the Snorlax amigurumi. And you should have all the tools in your toolkit to finish off the body. And I might pop in and out just to let you know when to do certain things or mark a certain row or anything like that. But I'm going to stuff the head at this point just a little bit and then continue on working with the body. So I just finished round 42, and before we go much further, I just want to add a marker to round 41, and that is going to tell us where to install the tail of the lion. So I'm just going to flip this guy all the way around, and we know that this row of stitches here, that is row 42, and this row of stitches right here is row 41. So what I'm going to do is put my hook into one of the stitches and through one of the stitches on row 41. I then have a piece of scrap yarn. I'm actually going to cut it a little bit shorter, and we're just going to plop this in here just like that. And that will indicate row 41 for us, so we don't have to go back and figure out which row we're putting the tail on. So just putting something like that just to hold its place, that'll easily be able to be pulled out once we get to that. So just keep working this until we get to the end of row 46, and then I will come back. So I just finished round 26. So now we're gonna start on the legs. So similar to how we've done the head and the body as like one piece together, we're also gonna do the legs in that manner. But we first have to start with the first leg. So to do that, we are going to squish the body flat, trying to make it as even as possible, and I'm trying to line it up as best I can with the eyes. And we want to find the center of the bottom. So I folded it that way, and now I'm going to fold it this way. So I'm gonna call this stitch right here my center. But I actually think that's pretty good. This is me just checking to see if it's roughly center, and I think so. I think it could either be, yeah, this one. Yeah, no, definitely that one. So next, what we want to do is count 20 stitches from this center point. So I'm just gonna follow my stitches around. So this is the 20th stitch right here, and I am gonna place another stitch marker. And again, because I don't have more plastic stitch markers readily on hand, they're somewhere, I'm just plopping a piece of scrap yarn down just like that. These two stitches that have the markers in them, we are actually not going to stitch in. These will be like sewn together at the end, kind of like that. And essentially what we're going to be doing is stitching one leg all the way, and then we'll finish that off, and then we're going to stitch the second leg by attaching. So not counting these two stitch markers, you should have 19 stitches here and 19 stitches here. So to do this first leg, I am just going to start where we left off, and we can leave this stitch marker here for now. And we're just gonna work single crochets to start. And I'm going to stop at that yellow stitch marker, just like that. Now I'm going to essentially jump across next to this stitch marker and work another single crochet, just like that. And we're turning our piece to work with our stitches and keep doing those single crochets around. And that is one round of single crochets for our leg. So you should be able to follow the pattern as written right now, and we're just focusing on a single leg. So I'm gonna finish this leg up and then I'll show you how to start on this second leg. So I just finished the first leg of this little guy, and there's a bit of an opening at the bottom of the leg. So when I finish off, I'm gonna leave a little bit of a tail so I can stitch that closed. And then before we start on the second leg, we are going to stuff it and make sure we also stuff this leg as well. So first things, I'm just going to cut a length of yarn and pull this through just like so. So now that won't come undone. Then I'm going to take my hook here and thread up this tail, and I'm just going to start stitching this all together because we can go like almost in a zigzag pattern, and I think then we can just pull it and it'll like cinch up if I remember correctly. Yes, perfect. So I just did like a little zigzag in and out on those last stitches, and then just pulled the tail to cinch the bottom of the foot closed. So now I just need to essentially lock this in. So I'm just gonna go through one of the stitches almost all the way through till there's a loop, and then I'm gonna go through that loop with my yarn, lock it in just like that, and then I'm just gonna stick my needle through, pull it kind of through, pulling the leg, and then we will trim that tail off. Perfect. So now I can stuff this and it shouldn't have like a huge hole in the bottom of the foot. So I only slightly stuffed the body because I will finish filling in the body before we start our decreasing rounds on the second leg. So we're going to start with first attaching our yarn to the body to start on our second leg. So I've just picked a random stitch and I'm just going to pull my yarn through here and I'm going to tie a little knot just like that, and this tail will just get pushed into the inside. And I'm going to yarn over, so I have a loop with the yarn that I attached. I'm going to insert into the very same stitch that we tied the knot in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And that is just essentially a single crochet. So I'm going to put my stitch marker here because this is going to mark the beginning of our round. And that's all I'm going to do to attach. And similar to how I've showed you guys how to do the color changes in the past, I don't think it's necessary, but I'm just going to do it for extra security. This tail where we tied on the yarn, I am just going to make sure I capture it in a handful of these single crochets, maybe 2 or 3, just like so, and then just push the tail to the inside. And so now we're just going to work the same pattern that we did on the first leg. And don't forget, just like the previous leg, we are not putting any stitches in either of these two places where we have stitch markers. So I've done my single crochets up to this stitch marker, and now I'm just going to jump across here into the next stitch next to the red stitch marker and do a single crochet just like so, turn my piece and keep working. And don't worry, before we finish off this leg, we will close off this part here so we won't have a hole. So I just finished the rounds of single crochet on the second leg, and before I begin decreasing, I'm going to finish stuffing the body and stuff most of the second leg. So we just finished the second leg, and just like what we did with the first, I am going to finish it off and leave a long tail so we can stitch up the bottom of the foot. And we're also going to use the same tail to stitch up this hole between the legs. So the way that I stitched up the other leg is I basically just did a zigzag stitch. So I go here from the outside in, and I'm just going through the stitches in that last row. And then I'm going from the inside out in the next stitch, outside in, inside out, and so on and so forth till we get all the way around. And then all you have to do once you get all the way around is just pull it tight and it cinches it up just like that. So I want to, before we take this tail to sew down here, we want to lock this into place so it doesn't work its way loose. So just like before, I'm just going to find a stitch to put my needle through, bring it almost all the way through, and then go back through that loop, just like so. And now it's locked in, so that won't work its way loose. So now I'm just going to put my needle through, and as best I can, I'm going to try to work it down here, that, and hopefully with some finagling, get that all the way through. Perfect. And now I can pull the foot flat. So now our feet and legs are done, just like that. So now to finish the body off, we're just gonna stitch this bit closed. And I'm just going to take these stitch markers out now since we don't need those anymore. And I'm first going to lock it into here just so we don't kind of weirdly pull our leg. So again, I just made like a little loop, and then I'm just going to go through that loop. I'm literally just making a knot. That's all I'm doing right now. So that way, while I'm stitching this part closed, it's not gonna like pull the leg like that. So it'll keep the legs right where they are. And then I'm just gonna cinch it closed, just like what I did on the bottoms of the feet. And here is the head and the body up to this point. So next we are going to start on the arms. And to begin, we're going to start with the magic ring. So we're going to make an X on the inside of our hand, parallel lines on the back of our hands, go under and over, and then twist. Remove that from our hand, and then yarn over, pull through to lock it in, just like that. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets into this loop right here, just like that. And I'm gonna plop a stitch marker into that last single crochet. We are then gonna pull the tail to close up the loop, and just keep following the pattern along as we've learned before. So this is just the magic ring. I just wanted to show y'all that a second time, but the rest of the rounds should be similar to what we've done previously in the head and the body, but I'll join you back on round 4 just to show you exactly what it means to single crochet in the back loop only. So I just finished round 3 of the arm, and for round 4 we are just going to single crochet into each of these stitches, but in the back loop only. So we are just going to be splitting the stitch, but instead of splitting it and grabbing that front loop like what we do with the decrease, you're going to come in from the top of the stitch and pick up that back loop and work your single crochet, just like that. So again, we're just splitting the stitch, picking up that back loop only, and working a single crochet. And we're going to do that all the way around. So that should be everything you need to know to complete the arms until we finish up through, let's say, round 18. So I will join you guys when we get to that point. So I just finished round 18. And so now I'm going to put a little stuffing and push it all the way down to the paw. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of stuffing to the arm, but it's still very squishy. So for round 19, which is the final round in the arm, we are just going to close up the top of the arm. We are going to single crochet basically straight across all the way down. So we're going to have 6 single crochets that's going to close these up. So I have my stitch marker here, and I'm just going to stick my hook into the same stitch and then directly across, just like that. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, just like that. I'm going to take this stitch marker out, and then we're just going to go straight across. So that was 1 single crochet, and this final one, which might be a little tricky, and 6. Just like that. And now we are going to finish this off by cutting a tail for sewing and pulling this all the way through, just like that. And that's how we do the arms. So I'm going to complete the next one. So here are the 2 arms of our piece, and we left a tail for sewing on each of them, and we'll just be able to stitch them on just below the neck. So you can either do this now, or you can wait until you're finished crocheting all of the other parts. I think just given that it's only 6 little stitches, I'm going to go ahead and stitch these on now. And I don't think it matters really which side is top, but I think I'll put this side down and that'll hide those stitches right there. So we want to make sure that we're in line with our leg here. And I'm just going to stitch this way and probably through this round here. So I'm going to tack this in, go through that right there, through this next single crochet. And I am going to take that all the way to the end. So I think that looks pretty good. And so now we just have to lock it in. So I am just going to bring my thread or my yarn back this way, back through that stitch we just went through, go through my loop, tie it off just like that. Make sure there's no chance of that coming undone, and then just stabbing this through just like that, and then trim it off. There we go. So now I'm just gonna do the next arm. So here's our guy with his arm sewn on. I think he looks super cute. So next we are going to work on the snout. The pattern says to use an off-white color, but again, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I just try to use what I have on hand absolutely first. So I have some of the same brand cotton yarn in white, so that is what I'm going to be using. So we're going to be working through this, and at this point you should know how to get through the majority of this pattern, and I will join y'all when we get to round 8 where we are going to have a color change. So now we are ready for the color change. So this is the end of round 7 and we're about to begin on round 8. So to do this color change, I'm going to insert my crochet hook into the very first stitch of the round, which this round is just comprised of single crochets. I'm going to pick up my mustard colored yarn and pull it through just like so. And then with the leading yarn, so the tails I'm kind of pushing down inside of the piece, I'm going to yarn over and pull through. And that is how I personally do my color changes. And next, what I'm going to do is taking the white leading yarn, I'm going to cut it to about the same length of the tail of the golden yarn, just like that. And now as we continue to work around and we are using the golden yarn, we're going to kind of tuck these tails into our stitches. So again, we're just working single crochet. So we're going to insert into the next stitch, and we want to make sure that these tails are on top of our hook when we yarn over and pull through. And we're going to do this just for a couple of stitches, and all this will make sure is that it doesn't unravel at any point, just like so. So we're gonna work that all the way around and probably only work until about this much of the tail is captured, and then we'll just push it to the inside. So now that there's a little bit of the tail left, I'm just now going to push this to the inside of the piece. And that's just so the ends don't poke through the piece. And we'll just continue on and finish this round. And now we're going to finish off just like normal, leaving a nice long tail for sewing, and that is our snout. And it will go onto our piece just like this, and we will stitch it on. But before we stitch it on, you're either going to want to install your nose or embroider any of the details onto the snout before sewing. Okay, so after quite a bit of time, I have finished embroidering the snoot. So that's what it will look like. And now we can sew this piece on. So that's what I'm going to do next. Now that we got this snout almost all the way sewn on, I'm going to add some stuffing, and then I will finish sewing this on. And here he is with his snout sewn on. I think it looks so cute. And so next we are going to get started on crocheting the mane. So to start on the mane, we're going to first cast on. And the way we're going to do that is you're going to make like a loop with your yarn and then put the tail through like this. So we're kind of making like a little pretzel shape, and then you're just going to put your hook through that loop and then just pull up, and that's how you'll just do a basic cast on. And then we are going to chain 50. And a chain is simple. You just yarn over and pull through, and that's one chain. So yarn over, pull through, and that's 2 chains. Yarn over, pull through, and that's 3 chains. So do this until you have 50 on your hook. So I have my 50 chains, and next we are going to slip stitch into the first chain, meaning this one all the way back here. And the important thing is we want to make sure that we don't twist it. So I am going, this is the top of the chain, so I'm going to make sure that's facing me in the middle, and then I'm just going to kind of bring this guy around, and then I'm just going to put my hook in, and you want to make sure it goes through both parts of the stitch. And now we are going to do a slip stitch. And a slip stitch is simply yarn over, and we're just going to pull through those 3. There we go. So that was the first 2 rounds. And where we put that slip stitch, so right there you can still see those 2 pieces there. We're going to do a single crochet. So that's our single crochet, and a half double crochet. So we'll yarn over, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops. And I am just going to plop a stitch marker into that single crochet. Next, in this second chain stitch, we are going to then work first a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, we're going to insert our hook, and again this can be a little tricky. You're going to yarn over, pull through, there we go, and then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, and yarn over and pull through the next 2, and that's a double crochet. Then we're going to work a triple crochet. So we're going to yarn over again. We're going to insert our hook back into that very same stitch. We're going to yarn over again, pull through. So you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over one more time, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. And that is a triple crochet. We are then going to chain 2 from here. 1, 2, and then we are going to single crochet into that very first chain stitch that we just did, just like that. And then going back to our main chain, the chain of 50, we're going to identify the next stitch. So we're going to be doing a double crochet again, so make sure you yarn over. You're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and the next stitch we're going to do is a half double crochet. So yarn over one more time, insert into that same stitch right there, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 of those stitches. Then in the next 2 chain stitches, we are just going to do single crochets. So there's one single crochet, and there's the second single crochet. So we are going to repeat this sequence all the way around, and that's what's going to create these little triangles and ultimately build our mane for our lion. And yeah, so just repeat this again all the way around, and I will see you at the end. So here is the mane all finished up. So similar to our other pieces, we're just going to pull a nice long tail and fasten it off. So that is the mane with it all fastened off. So next we can sew this guy on, and it'll kind of be sewn on almost like a wig. So I'm gonna tuck these last few pieces like kind of under his chin as best I can. And then this part will just kind of stretch over him just like that. And I'm not going to stitch it down yet because I want to finish crocheting the ears so I can get all of that placed and figure out where I want those to go and how far back before I sew on the mane. So we're going to go ahead and crochet the ears. And here are the inner ear pieces. I just finished round 3 on the outer ear, and we're then going to take our inner ear piece and kind of just lay it on top, just like so. And then all we're going to do is put our hook through the white piece and then through our outer ear piece, just like that, and then work a single crochet, just like that. And just to show you again, so through the white, through the mustard, single crochet, and just do that all the way around, and you should end up with something looking like this. And here are what my ears look like, and now we're going to get started on the tail. So for the tail, if you remember, we marked row 41 as we were finishing up the body. So we want to attach with our mustard yarn. We want to make sure we're nice and centered. So I am just going to plop my hook just like that. I'm going to pull my yarn through a knot, just like so, and we'll tuck this yarn in. But I'm going to yarn over, put my hook right back where I had it, yarn over and pull through and pull through. There we go. And I'm going to count that as a chain, so we need to chain 10 more, and if you recall, that's just yarn over, pull through. Okay, so that is our chain of 11, and now starting from the second chain from our hook, we are going to add single crochets all the way back down, so it should be 10, just like so. And then we want to slip stitch back into our piece. And a slip stitch, we are just going to plop our hook in here, yarn over, pull through, and then just pull straight through, just like that. And that is a slip stitch. Now we're going to trim this off. We can take off our stitch marker here, and then I am going to thread up my needle and then just weave these ends in, just like that. So now our tail is attached, and the last bit is to do our fur. With our brown yarn, we are going to make our slip stitch. If you remember, we're gonna make that pretzel shape, put our hook in, and then just pull on the two ends of the yarn, and then we're gonna chain 5, and then we are going to join with a slip stitch in that very first chain. So you're just going to yarn over, pull through that chain, and then pull through that piece that was on your hook, just like that. And that just forms like a nice little ring. We are then going to, in that very same stitch that we put that slip stitch, insert our hook back in. We're going to put a single crochet just like so, and I'm just going to plop a stitch marker just so I remember which one's my first. Then I'm going to chain 9. Then starting from the second chain from the hook, we are going to single crochet all the way back down, leaving us with 8 single crochets. So that's 1. Then we want to single crochet into that very next chain stitch and repeat that process of the chaining 9, single crocheting 8, single crochet. So we're going to repeat that until we get back to the very first one. And here is what the tail fur will look like. So you should have 5 of these little like tendrils coming off, and now we are just going to snip that and fasten it off just like so, and now we can stitch this onto the tail. So now we have all of the pieces ready to stitch together, and I am just going to stitch them on using the techniques that I've already shown you, and I will show you what it looks like when it's all put together. And here is our lion all finished up. So cute. And if you wanted to, you could add embroidered eyebrows, maybe like a little belly button or something, but I'm very happy with the way that he looks. So I'm incredibly happy with the way that this little guy came out. I absolutely adored the look of this pattern when I found it on Ravelry. I just think he's super cute. He's a cute little size. And most of the other lion patterns that were available for free on Ravelry required you to cut like a ton of pieces of yarn and then like put them in here and brush them out. I love this simplistic design and I think it's super cute. And also I think it's like a really good base pattern, just like the body and the head and the arms, for like a ton of other different projects that you might be able to edit and add things to. But very, very happy with the way he came out. So I hope my mother-in-law loves this little guy as much as I do. Honestly, my mother-in-law, she is so sweet. She will probably cry when she gets this. I've never taken the opportunity to hand make her a gift before, so this is the first one for her, and I am just so incredibly thankful to call her my mother-in-law, and I hope you love it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you enjoy content like this, be sure to go check out the other videos on my channel, and be sure to leave a like if this was helpful to you or you enjoyed it. It really helps me a lot, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!